Hey, this is Kamal. I'm Shale. Making another video. Seems like I'm making all my videos pretty late, so excuse the tired eye. Um, but this is about when things hit me and when my day calms down enough for me to be able to make a video. So this video, I'm not going to make it too long. At least I'm gonna try to keep it a little shorter than my other videos. But I just wanted to talk about when it's the right time to fight. And when I say fight, I don't necessarily mean necessarily having arms and picking targets and enacting operations in that sense. Not that I'm against any of that stuff. Just I feel like that's even further reach as far as when's the right time to fight. But what I mean is just to stand up. Black people have been doing that recently. We've been standing up against police brutality and standing up against this corrupt capitalistic society that exploits us on a regular. Um, but not all of us. Like some of us still haven't found either the courage or the desire to stand up and really say something. And not only do they do that, but then they tell you like, what are you doing? Like are you drawing attention to yourself? Like you're just making the problem worse. You're a racist. That's the worst when black people tell you you're racist for pointing out racial inequalities and the general genocidal nature of America towards people of color, black people specifically. Um, but yeah, like people have all types of things to say, and they don't like the idea often of you saying it's time to resist and you telling people, yeah, this is crazy. We should resist. Like, uh, if you talk about marching, right? If you talk about direct action, marches, sit-ins, and things like that, things where you put your body like literally on the line against the state, they'll tell you you're crazy. Like, why would you do that? The police can do whatever they want. You're not changing anything. Nothing's going to change. But we know already from history that things have changed. Now, are those changes perfect? Are they all substantive? Are they things that were changed and then quickly changed back? In many cases, they were the negative sides of those things. They weren't very substantive, right? They were things that were changed in order to quell the people's anger and then changed back or reverted to it once they felt people would accept it. Um, in many cases, the changes uh, were permanent, but just weren't enough to say like this is it. We don't have to worry no more, right? So I understand that. I take that into account. But it doesn't mean you don't fight. Like if anything, that means you fight harder. That means you have to be more direct, uh, more engaging. You have to do a better job of deciding what your demands are and how long and how hard you fight before you reach those demands or give up and settle for other ones. Which sometimes happen. That's not necessarily a bad thing if you settle for a lesser demand, as long as it's something that's within your, um, as long as it's something that you were aiming for, something that you needed to happen, something that serves the people and meets a need that wasn't being met before, right? Like if you are struggling um, to get the box banned from applications, from job applications, because you realize people who are formerly incarcerated need to be able to work to survive, especially to make sure they don't wind up in a position where they're incarcerated again. And you know that box keeps people from getting hired. So you struggle against that. You write letters, you call in, you block traffic, you stop politicians from doing their job, you hold space, you wage war. Like that's a way of waging war. That is a fucking civil war, right? Like that's civil disobedience. Is a civilian population trying to enact change through methods that aren't orthodox, because the orthodox methods are not working. That's a civil war. And so if you do all that, right, and you do get the change, but they don't ban the box in every place, but they ban the box on just government applications, right? Like, maybe they can't make McDonald's take it off, but the state of Pennsylvania or Missouri or something, they don't ask the question. It's not the end of the fight. It's not like everything's done. You're not free, but that's a win, and that's something to be celebrated, and that is worthwhile, and it is worth the effort put out there. And so that same thought process goes across everything. If you're struggling to end police brutality and to end police, or like me, you struggle to abolish police. If you don't get the police to disappear within a week or a month, it's not like you lost. It's not the end. That's a very large struggle. It's a lot of hard work. If you get the police to back down, if you cut their budget, if you get the whole space and the police leave, those are victories. If you get more people involved so they agree and understand the concept and go, yo, you're right, we need to abolish the police, those are victories. If you can affect the police's ability to be the monsters that they are and attack us, that's a victory too. So um, I just want to encourage people to fight. Not to feel like shit is impossible. You can't win. They got the police. They've got state power, and then what do we do? Nothing. Nah, you can fight. And when it comes to like more intense struggle, when it comes to armed resistance, right? If it ever gets there, I'm not convinced, honestly, that we're going to need to armed resist anything, or that people are going to be ready for that because people are just too comfortable. Some folks want to go live in the woods. I'm with that. But even at that, right? If you go live in the woods, Waco lets you know they're not just gonna let you go and chill and plot the overthrow of the government or plot to live without the government. They're not gonna do that. So when people get that idea, the government loses all power. The government loses all power. A lot of capitalists are gonna lose power. So they can't have it. So if you go to decide to live in the government, I'm with that. I mean, live in a forest. Live in the woods. Live off the grid. Homestead. I'm with that. Um, but even in those cases, you're gonna be in need of arms. You're gonna need to protect yourself. If you decide not to, and you decide to stay in the city and live the life you've been living, pretty much, there may come a need where you have to defend yourself. Especially nowadays. These days, everyone wants to talk about black people going to war for black issues and stuff, but we're likely not going to do that. It's just not enough of us. We're not armed enough, but we do have some arms, y'all. I found that out. We got some good weapons. But we're not armed enough. We don't have the resources to create a sustained, a revolutionary armed movement and fight the government right now. However, while we may not have that right now, we might have that eventually. Um, and whenever that happens, and even with the little bit we do have, if you don't think you can win the fight, then you just won't win the fight. Like, it's just that simple. Like, no one fights a war believing they're going to lose or believing it's a lost cause. You will definitely lose that way. And a lot of us being passive currently is just because we're scared of the fight and scared of the loss and scared of what could happen to us. So I just want to encourage people to fight, to resist, to stand up, to fight back. Raise your fist in defiance. Don't be afraid of them. That's what they want. That's what they need. And that's how they keep us where we are. The only way forward is to be defiant. That's it. Power to the people.